Today, I have to sound the alarm. I'm sounding the alarm. This is the state of the expat world across the world in 2025. We are going to go from looking at Africa to the Mediterranean, even to parts of Europe that are facing changes in travel. This is pertinent to you because to get to the African continent, you may have to travel through the Mediterranean. To live in some of these African countries, you want to understand the risks and the different things that are happening right now on the ground in 2025, specifically in July. Hit the like button, share this video with 5 to 10 people because I've not seen any content on the internet like this. But listen, we are going to talk about the state of the expat world in July 2025. This is your crisis briefing. If you are an expat, a would-be immigrant, or simply someone watching global trends, July 2025 has a lot of risks that you need to look out for. Yes, even on the continent of Africa. I don't want to lie to you. Things are getting a little strange. It's getting a little weird. It's looking a little funny, okay? And I just want you to come in with an informed decision. I want you to make the best decision for your family because here's what I want for you. I want when you leave the West that you're able to leave for good like my family and I did. I want when you leave the West, you meet stability and peace and longevity. I don't want you to have to go from country to country if you don't want to. I don't want you to feel unsafe. I don't want you to feel like you can't grow your business abroad. Like I want you to live your best life truly. And so we are going to talk about this all-in-one update, crossing Africa, the Mediterranean, and beyond. We're going to cover the riots, the embassy closures, the migration crackdowns, the changes in residence policy, and political shifts that are going to redefine your move abroad to live your best life overseas. Don't plan your next move without listening to this video. So historically, being a digital nomad meant that you would go to somewhere like Bali, Indonesia, and you would do their tourist visa. You may hop to like Vietnam, you may have hopped to the Philippines, but you would be on this tourist visa and you would hop around, right? That was typically what a digital nomad was in the early 2020s and a little bit beyond. And it's an entire thing. I actually did a fabulous podcast with the executive director of Plumia, which is a company similar to Safety Wing. She's also the executive director of Safety Wing, Nomad Health Insurance. And the podcast, I'll try to link it down below because we were talking about this back in 2022, okay? Nowadays, it's hard to be a digital nomad in that sense of the world. In that sense of the word, because we have visa crackdowns, we have things that are changing. We have protests happening in Kenya. We have power grid issues down in South Africa. There's a lot of different things that are happening. Even the Israel-Iran conflict. There are earthquakes. There are wars and rumors of wars. And so honestly, there's not a whole lot of options for you. To be quite honest, to choose the safest place and the place that's going to give you the best longevity, you only have a couple of options on Earth, not to mention the fact that the European Union just passed their EU digital ID, okay? And if you know what that means that there's gonna be control in a lot of areas where historically people had a little bit more freedom. And so now is the time to make your move. But make it with discretion, make it wisely. Make sure you are listening to those who have longevity and are in countries with a clear path to citizenship, or you are in a country that feels extremely safe to you, because I'm telling you, from what we are seeing with just President Trump's administration, traveling all over the place is not really gonna be a thing in the future. We are coming into the world, or a world that's gonna look much different than the world we are in now. Now, with that being said, we do have a few digital nomad hotspots here, okay? Obviously, we have Mauritius, Africa, the country I'm in. They give you a multi-year digital nomad residence permit or a visa where you can stay in the country up to 3 to 4 years, depending on immigration's discretion. And then we have a country like Seychelles, which is just north of us here in Mauritius. It's also in Africa. Seychelles has a digital nomad workation program, similar requirements, okay? And then you have Cabo Verde, and Cabo Verde is an island in West Africa. Then you have South Africa that has a digital nomad visa. You have Kenya that has a digital nomad visa, and you have Namibia on top of like Greece, Spain, Portugal, Thailand, those types of places. But wait. Before I go any further, I just realized like we're talking about the state of the expat world, but I want to know, did you sign up for the state of the diaspora? Because I know you've been watching these videos, ma'am, sir. I know, and some of you have been emailing me like, sis, give me the link. And you know, I created a new link. I was like, oh my gosh, the demand is on fire. And I created the link. I put it in yesterday's video about Mauritius. And y'all, 4 spots are already taken. Look, 4 spots are already taken. That means for August 17th at 2 p.m. Eastern, that cohort is nearly halfway filled up, or just about halfway filled up. And so like if you're on the fence, you may be staying on that fence unless you take action now to become a part of the urgent state of the diaspora. Because if you like the way these insights are going and you're like, I actually want to speak to you guys in an incubated setting with 8 other expats. You know, we had clients this past week. One said, you know, I'm in Thailand and my mom is in Mauritius, and we just really ended up loving Mauritius, but I went on a short vacation real quick. You know, you have clients, they're saying, hey, I have a mentor over in Senegal, but I'm checking out both sides of the continent to make sure that I have a great strategy. I'm like, this is what the state of the diaspora is about. You can get connected to wise people. And even if you feel like you're quiet, you're an introvert, you can listen to other people's insights and see, okay, I see how that plan's gonna work for them because I was that person, okay, in school. Listen, I'm an introvert. I learned by being quiet and just watching what other people do. And so if that's you, we welcome you also into the state of the diaspora. Again, it's a small container. We keep it small because we want you to feel like you are seen, heard, valued, and understood, okay? We want you to feel safe. We want you to feel like, okay, there's just a few other people in here that I can talk to. And did I mention the members only WhatsApp group for the people in the state of the diaspora at the time you go into it, meaning those who come in for this session that's coming up this Sunday, July 20th, they're in a WhatsApp group together, no other people, okay? So it's incubated, it's safe, it's just for the people that are members to stay connected with each other. But let's get back into this video because now I want to talk about Kenya and these protests and this tax crisis that's going on in Kenya. It's so sad. And I've been following this story for a while now. And it's just, it makes me uneasy, to be honest with you. It makes me uneasy because I used to live in Tanzania. Kenya is very close to Tanzania. Obviously, Mauritius actually isn't that far from Kenya either. We flew through Nairobi to get to Mauritius. And so it's a hard one to talk about. And watching the videos of like the Kenyan government shooting their people, it's just like, it left me speechless. And at the same time, we are in a leadership position, and so I can't just be quiet and pretend it's not happening. That's obviously not helpful, not respectful, even to my fellow Kenyan people. Shout out to the Riots people. Shout out to everybody in Kenya. Kenya is a phenomenal place. I haven't been there, but I've hired Kenyans. I've worked with Kenyans. I love the Kenyan people, okay? So I'm gonna get into this hard one. This one's hard for me. Kenya has erupted in some of its worst unrest in a decade, sparked by the so-called finance bill of 2025, which would raise taxes on essential items like bread, fuel, and internet services. The protests have turned deadly. Security forces have killed dozens in clashes in Nairobi and Mombasa. The government was forced to partially withdraw the bill after enormous public outrage. Why? Many blame the International Monetary Fund loan conditions that require subsidy cuts and tax hikes. This is the classic debt trap. Foreign lenders demand atrocity, citizens pay the price. Here's your expat takeaway though. Don't assume stability. Monitor local anger towards foreigners or aid agencies. Consider short-term exit plans, especially if you live in an urban center. I want you to be safe. I want you to be well off. I want you to be good. And so it is pertinent and critical and important for you to have somewhat like the state of the diaspora. This is why we teach a 5-in-1 strategy. You want to have these other like arms and legs, this other like plan B in Africa, where you have, hey, these are my favorite countries. This is a country that's super safe though. This country maybe has more residents. Maybe you have a country that's like, hey, I love like the culture there. I love the food. But then you have a country that's more so like, but this has the best path to residence. Then you have a country that's like, okay, I know I can come here if I want to take a vacation, if I want to network, like that's the way that we should be looking at traveling to Africa. That is the journey with us way, okay? That's the way that we look at things, especially for me as a marketing analyst. Can we talk about Nigeria's fuel shortages and the currency meltdown? Let's get into this. Nigeria, Africa's largest economy by far. Shout out to the Niger people. Yeah, I'm taking a minute in each segment to shout out, but I love Nigeria as well. Okay? I have a heart for Nigeria. I love Nigeria. I love Niger people. You know, Nigerian Americans are they're just some of my favorite people. They're like my favorite group of people because y'all are bosses. Y'all are entrepreneurs. Y'all kill it wherever you go in the world. You guarantee you're going to see a Nigerian doing what needs to be done, okay? But anyway, in July 2025, the Naira is at historic lows after multiple devaluations. Fuel queues are snaking for miles in Lagos and Abuja as subsidy cuts. Another IMF condition, International Monetary Fund, bites hard. Inflation is crushing food and transportation costs. Security fears are rising with petty crime spiking in cities. Here is your key expat takeaway with Nigeria. Expect fuel shortages to hit when you travel, supply chains, and it will impact safety. Have cash reserves in a foreign country, especially if you're near Nigeria. Watch for protests or strikes that could turn violent. Here's the thing about Africa that people don't really talk about. How do I want to put this? The place that we are in Africa right now is this mindset of revolution and this mindset of just protest and clashes, but these things on the continent can get very violent very quickly. It can engulf you if you're in the wrong area. I'll put it like that. It can literally engulf you if you're in the wrong area. I remember when we were in Tanzania in 2020, we had arrived pretty early, and we were there when they were doing the elections and things like that. And Tanzanians would tell us, hey, you don't go outside on this day, okay? When they have elections, your internet's gonna be cut off, and do not go outside. They would say, it's usually a peaceful country, but you do not want to be out there. You need to stay home. And we're like, hey, we gonna listen to you because look, it's your place, you know what to do. And so obviously we're gonna submit ourselves to that process and that wisdom. And so I say this because I've started to realize, a lot of African countries are like that, especially when you have these crazy tax hikes and people honestly just want to eat. People just want to have fuel. People are just trying to live, right? And people, when they're just trying to live, when they feel like their back is against a wall, they feel like they don't have anything to lose. I'll just put it like that. Now let's turn over to Egypt. Let's go north. Ooh, child. Egypt's currency collapsed and inflation because Egypt's pound has lost 50% of its value since January. July reports show food staples like bread and cooking oil are up 40% year over year in Egypt. Oh my. I don't know what the cause of that is. Somebody leave a comment down below if you understand. I'm not sure. The government is negotiating new IMF loans. But for the average Egyptians and foreign residents, the cost of living is soaring. So you need to budget for a sudden rent and grocery price hike. You need to prepare for social tensions and unrest. And you need to maintain strong dollar-euro reserves if possible. Because again, if you're in one of these countries and the currency is unstable like that, especially in those northern African countries, they have quite a lot of chaos, just to be quite honest with you. And that's why it's not really somewhere that stays on our radar or anything of that nature. But the currency, can just drop 50% just in the span of a couple months, which means you need to be holding that USD or that euro or some other type of currency or crypto, whatever you're holding, you need to hold it. And this is why it's so important also for us to really talk about these factors that really, these are deal breakers. Like these are make or break situations where if you move your business to an economy that's not thriving, that can put you back years. And we're not moving to Africa to be put back. We're moving to Africa to live our dream life and to be put forward, right? And so that's something that I want you to take into consideration. This is why I'm going to start doing these videos to monitor the situations and to let you know. I do this for my own family, for my own children, to teach them, but you get to get in on the goodness as well. Now let's talk about West Africa, which is the happiest news of the day. I feel like this video has been quite heavy, but this is good news right here. The ECOWAS breakup is confirmed. West Africa's regional bloc ECOWAS is fracturing. Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger finalized their exit in 2025 this month after months of military rule disputes. That may sound bureaucratic, okay? But it has real world consequences. Trade flows will be disrupted to Europe. We already covered that video. It's gonna mess up things a little bit in France, okay? We already covered that. Borders will likely see tighter checks, though. That is something I want you to be aware of, especially if you're like, I was looking at going to Burkina, Mali, Niger, fabulous, wonderful countries, excellent cultures. But be aware of that because they're obviously going to be on high alert, and you may want to let those tensions subside before going that route. This is why I say, look, you want to be in a stable, peaceful economy where they don't have a whole lot going on right now, somewhere that's very neutral so that you can have the lay of the land and learn how to live outside of the West. Because listen, what you don't want to happen is you start filming in these countries or something, or you think you're living your life, then they're questioning you, because it can turn into a messy situation pretty quickly, okay? And trade flows are going to be disrupted to Europe, and that's going to obviously impact America. It's going to impact the EU relationship with America. We saw yesterday President Trump and his trade war tariffs, they're still going at 30%. I discussed how the European Union is probably going to start looking at Africa more aggressively. And they obviously can't look at the west side of Africa, so they're going to try to get in wherever they can fit in. And so that's something to be aware of and watch for as well. But here's your key takeaway. Prepare for border lockdowns or closures. Have alternate travel plans. This is something we also touch in the State of the Diaspora. And I typically don't talk about this, but since it's coming up right now, we talk about the best travel routes in Africa. All travel in Africa is not created equal. Southern Africa is the easiest by far region to travel within and to other places in the continent. But if you're in West Africa trying to get to East Africa, it's going to be crazy expensive. If you're in West Africa trying to get to North, expensive. If you're in East Africa trying to get to West or North, expensive. East Africa to South is not that expensive. South Africa to East, not that expensive. South Africa to West, not as expensive as East to West, okay? So that's something you want to know. If you want more details and you want that 39 to 42 page curriculum that we give our clients in the State of the Diaspora, you already know what to do. Check out the link in the description. Listen, I don't want you to think that West Africa has free movement. This is so important. Southern Africa has free movement. Depending on the time, East Africa sometimes has free movement, depending on the time of day, the time of year, it depends, bureaucracy. But West Africa definitely does not have free movement. Just keep that in mind. This is why we also introduce hey, it's a good option to go to Thailand for a time, to spend some time in India for a time, to be up in the Mediterranean, because really your Africa plan is going to look like leveraging more affordable routes, especially in the times to come. I'm telling you, we are coming to a time on Earth where traveling is going to change, and it's going to change on the continent of Africa. And it may get a little trickier before it gets better, okay, for the majority of African countries. Now, obviously, like Mauritius, Seychelles, Cabo Verde, Botswana, possibly Namibia. These are going to be some of the safest countries to just travel and merge throughout. Rwanda. But you have to use your due diligence. You have to make sure that you are doing the proper research beforehand to avoid crisis. But now let's go back to East Africa and let's go to Uganda. I'm so happy for Uganda. Uganda's anti-LGBTQ plus law has been enforced. It's controversial, okay, but it's been passed since 2023, and they're seeing the first prosecutions. Human rights groups report arrests and convictions in July 2025. International travel advisories are warning LGBTQ plus travelers to reconsider visits entirely. Know the local laws and customs, and this is should be said across all of Africa. Even if you're traveling to Asia, even if you're traveling to the Mediterranean, wherever you're going, understand the culture. Okay, as Americans, sometimes we get too prideful and we don't understand the culture, okay? And this is so important because everywhere is not like America. A lot of people think everywhere is like America. That's the worst mistake that you can make. Most cultures outside of America are actually quite modest. They actually value marriage, they value children, and they value quietness. And so if you're the American coming in all super loud, all extra, 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 you're gonna draw attention to yourself. And you may be like, oh, they don't like it. It's like, no, they're just shocked because you're so loud and you're just standing out like a red thumb, okay? And so in order to not stand out, just pay attention and just take my advice. Just know Africa, Asia, the Middle East, the Mediterranean, they are typically pretty quiet. they're pretty quiet. Even the way that people speak here in Mauritius, Tanzania, very much soft-spoken, you know? You're gonna come, and I'm typically someone, I used to think I was soft-spoken. I was like, oh, I'm loud out here, geez. You know, in America, people think I'm too soft-spoken, but out here, it's like, oh, I'm too loud, okay? Because they speak so softly. That's the culture here. It's quiet, it's modest, it's like, just chill, like everything's good, just everything's all right. That's the culture here. And so if you're not ready for that, you may want to stay in America, or I don't know, maybe try South America. I'm not sure, don't know, but definitely understand the cultural norms before you leave America and go somewhere where you align with the culture. Okay, I align with Mauritius's culture. I respect the culture. And when I say the culture, I align with the fact that it's family centered, it's marriage centered, and they're pretty peaceful and chill towards people that have their different belief systems. Okay, they're not going to like throw stones at them. They're not about to do anything crazy. It's not violent. They're just really like chill. Okay, that's the culture here. And it's super, super family oriented, super, there's just organic nature, sugarcane fields, agriculture everywhere. It's just pretty like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just a vibe. Like, it's something you have to experience. I'm trying to think of the right word. It's like, it's almost like off-grid living. That's kind of what it feels like, even though you're not off-grid, but at the same time, it has an off-grid feel compared to America or compared to Canada or compared to the UK. You just feel like, oh, I'm just like out in this island, walking through the jungle neighborhood because there's trees everywhere. I love it. It's great. I have a great time out here. Now we need to talk about South Africa's grid crisis returning. Now, my brother had spent some time in South Africa back in 2022, considerable time. He absolutely loves South Africa, but he was telling me about the grid crisis, and I was like, oh wow, that's actually a little bit worse than what we had experienced in Tonga, Tanzania. So South Africa's grid crisis is a real issue. I also had a contractor that I employed down there, and she would face these grid failures and she would say, hey, I can't do my work today. The grid failed, you know, and that's just it. I was like, dang, there's no cafes or anything. I don't know, you know, that's her business. But at the end of the day, if you are in the growth phase of your business, if you are creating an online consultancy like we teach our clients to do in Black Educators Amplified, if you are on a W-2, if you are actively working in your business, which the vast majority of people are, then you either need like backup generators, you need to put some money into, you know, having some solar panels, whatever it is, or you may want to look at choosing a more stable country that has a better electrical grid. This is something that my brother warned me about. He said it was fine for him because it was just him. He was traveling. He wasn't too worried about work, but he actually ended up spending time in Chiang Mai, Thailand, when he wanted to just really focus on work. He said down there he would get distracted a lot, and he absolutely loves it, especially on the Eastern Cape, but he was distracted. And so if he wanted to just like dive deeply into his work and get stuff done, he would go to Chiang Mai, Thailand, then, you know, he would come back or whatever, okay? And so the country's grid remains fragile, and winter demand is pushing it towards collapse once more. Now, these grid crises started happening again in 2025, and the rolling blackouts are back. Now, also, my brother told me that typically there's this app and they'll let them know when the grid's going down, and it might be down that whole day or whatever, but that can really set you back, especially if you're a homeschooling family or if you have children and you're just trying to get stuff together. That can really set you back. That's something to think about, because where the places that I lived in Tanzania, like Tonga, like in Mbweni, The area we were in Dar es Salaam and Bezi, those places, the power doesn't go out for that long. It may go out for a couple of hours and that's about it. If you choose the right neighborhood, even here in Mauritius, the power went out for like 15 minutes. And so that's just about it. So you want to be in a place with a stable connection to electricity if you are in the startup phase. Now, if you're of retirement age, that's totally different. You may be like, shoot, this power out, I'm chilling, I'm good. But when you are under 45 and you are growing an enterprise, you're gonna have issues. You're just gonna have issues. That's just the reality, okay? And so you want to prepare for multi-hour outages daily. You want to secure food and water that don't need refrigeration. And you want to have backup energy solutions if you're staying there long term. Whoo, child. Now we gotta fly to the Mediterranean. Let's go. Let's go to Tunisia in North Africa. In July 2025, human rights groups report that Tunisia continues to expel African migrants into the Sahara. Yes, the Sahara Desert, abandoning them at its borders with Libya and Algeria. This is happening with European Union funding aimed at stopping migrant boats from reaching Italy. Here's the key takeaway for you. Understand local resentment towards sub-Saharan Africans if you're in Italy. I'm just leave that there. I've heard too many stories about Italy. I'm just saying I'm not really that enthused into ever living in Italy, to be quite honest with you. I'm gonna leave that there. I'm gonna keep going. Watch for changing entry requirements or detentions if traveling through Tunisia, and see the writing on the wall for the EU migration policy, externalization and crackdown. The EU tends to copy what the US is doing. Look at what the US is doing right now, cracking down on certain brown and black groups of people. You can say for a fact the EU is probably going to have the same sentiment, as well as potentially Australia. Now let's go to Greece. Greece wildfires force evacuations. Record heat waves have returned, and with them devastating fires on the Greek islands. In July, emergency evacuations have been ordered on roads in Crete. Factor fire season into travel plans. Ensure insurance covers natural disasters. And obviously expect disruptions at hotels, ferries, and airports, okay? Now, let's talk about the visa and border crackdown happening this month. Now, starting July 1st, the UK marked the full enforcement of its new family visa salary requirement, which is 38,000 euros, blocking thousands from bringing partners or children, okay? Australia is enforcing a 25% cut to migrant intake, which was first announced in May. The US is preparing for mass deportation raids in the lead up to the end of 2025. We already have seen that they have Alligator Alcatraz. They have these detainment camps that are already here. And so you need to just be aware of these things. You need to be aware. You need to know what's going on. Don't assume you can just move to the West. Don't assume you can just move into any territory. Check the visa income thresholds carefully. These things change all the time. For some regions, it gets better. I'm going to name the 2 regions where it gets better. Mauritius, Seychelles, Thailand, Vietnam, the Philippines, Ghana, Senegal, Rwanda, currently. Those are the only ones that have shifted policy to benefit foreigners and expats that are coming into their lands. And you should just be aware that I've just named all islands. This is a pattern that we can see. Islands are going to be a bit more welcoming. One, because they're dependent on your tourism. And so when you have a country that's dependent on tourism, they don't really have the option like, I don't have any gold, don't have much silver. So I really need people to come into the island. So they're going to treat them nicely. They're going to be kind. More than that, they're going to market to them as well, because they want you to come in and spend your US dollar, your UK pound. I was about to say shilling, pound. Any Western currency, they want you to spend it. That's how it is. Thailand, they have announced fabulous visas, to be quite honest with you. Vietnam, fabulous visas, to be honest with you. Cambodia, the Philippines. But if you're like me and you just love the continent, maybe Mauritius, Seychelles, Rwanda, Botswana, and then maybe in South Africa could be your choice, right? And so those are things that you want to look at. Even Ghana. Ghana stays is one of the best ones for people who want to travel. Ghana Ghana tops the list because Ghana has it together and their economy is growing. Like Ghana's just like one of those places to be. I think Senegal will also be a great place to be. I think eventually Senegal will launch a digital nomad visa because they are currently like the tech entrepreneur hub in West Africa. Okay, that's what I expect Senegal to do here in the coming months to years. Kenya was a fabulous choice, but they're just facing some instability right now. That's something to watch if you have children. Again, I'm a mother of 5 children, and so I prioritize safety over everything. Safety, ease, and longevity. Those are my metrics. If it's not safety, ease, and longevity, I don't want it. Also understand you're gonna have to prepare for stricter documentation, longer wait times, and higher rejection rates. We're seeing a world retreat from openness. Border walls are going up. Visas are getting harder to secure. Economic crises are fueling anger and protests. Countries are tightening their internal security and scapegoating outsiders. If you're an expat, you cannot ignore these trends. You cannot afford to ignore this, okay? So stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Have emergency cash. Know local protest triggers, understand how to have an exit strategy, stay on top of changing visa rules by subscribing to Journey with us. Stay informed, be prepared, stay safe, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, share this with 10 people. I think this 30-minute session that I've just had with you right here is worthy of you sharing to 5 to 10 people. If you found value in it, don't forget to hit the like button on the way out. Let me know what you think of this down below. Do you see this bigger trend that's happening across the globe? Like, you need to get to the place that you are called to be in quick before it shuts down. Shalom, shalom.